Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another legal breaking reporting video analysis update. The first one of 3 total reportings for many for this afternoon. Let's get into our first one, ladies and gentlemen, by the New York Times. Ladies and gentlemen, that is, however, read by an automated voice. So we will be taking a look to read as well as a listen. Let's get into it.
Leader, Michael C. Bender and David Enrich, and read by automated voice. The Justice Department looked into sexual misconduct allegations against President Trump in connection with the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but did not find credible information to merit further investigation, Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, said on Sunday. Mr. Blanche's comments, which he made on CNN's State of the Union, came less than 48 hours after the Trump administration released about 3 million pages of documents collected by the Justice Department as part of its years-long investigation into Mr. Epstein, who died in 2019. The controversy over Mr. Epstein has dogged Mr. Trump for the past year, after Mr. Trump's allies vowed on the 2024 campaign trail to release the Epstein files. His administration rapidly backtracked. Mr. Trump's resistance to releasing the government's files fueled speculation that they contained damaging information about him or his allies. The files are peppered with references to Mr. Trump, who had been a close friend of Mr. Epstein's until the early 2000s. While Mr. Trump has repeatedly downplayed the relationship, the two men bonded over their pursuit of young women. Mr. Trump has denied any wrongdoing in connection to Mr. Epstein. Using a proprietary search tool, the New York Times identified more than 5,300 files containing more than 38,000 references to Mr. Trump, his wife, his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, and other related words and phrases in the latest batch of emails, government files, videos, and other records released by the Justice Department. Previous installments of the Epstein files, which the department released late last year, included another 130 files with Trump-related references. Many of the documents released on Friday that mention Mr. Trump are news articles and other publicly available materials that had landed in Mr. Epstein's email inbox. None of those files include any direct communication between Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein. Few of the files date back as far as the early 2000s, when the two men were friends. Here's what our review of the files has found so far. Mr. Trump is named in unverified tips received by the FBI. Mr. Trump is one of half a dozen prominent men about whom the agency's files includes salacious information, according to an email an FBI official wrote to a colleague last year. Some of that information appears to be in the form of more than a dozen tips submitted through the FBI's National Threat Operations Center in West Virginia. Some of the tips include accusations of sexual abuse by Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein. FBI officials last summer compiled the tips into a summary, which was among the files released on Friday. The FBI summary does not include corroborating information, and the Times is not describing the details of the unverified claims. The names of some of the tipsters in the document have not been redacted. The newly released files also include notes and transcripts of interviews that federal investigators conducted with Mr. Epstein's victims, some of whom describe interactions with Mr. Trump. For instance, handwritten notes from one interview in September 2019, about a month after Mr. Epstein died by suicide in a Manhattan jail, say that a victim, whose name has been redacted, recalled being transported in a dark green car to Mar-a-Lago to meet Mr. Trump. "This is a good one, huh?" the victim recalls Mr. Epstein saying to Mr. Trump. The notes do not suggest misconduct by Mr. Trump. In another file, Juan Alessi, who worked for Mr. Epstein, is reported to have told investigators that Mr. Trump, along with other well-known individuals, had visited Mr. Epstein's home. A White House spokesman declined to comment on questions about specific documents and referred to Mr. Trump's comments to reporters on Saturday, when he claimed that the files absolved me of wrongdoing. Some of the documents confirm previous reports about Mr. Epstein and Mr. Trump. Investigators, lawyers, journalists, and others have spent years trying to understand the extent of Mr. Epstein's relationship with powerful men, including Mr. Trump, and a huge volume of information is already in the public domain. Many of the Trump-related files that the Times reviewed buttress or recycle those materials. Some of the new files are duplicates of emails and other records that the Justice Department or the House Oversight Committee released late last year. Those files show that, long after Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein's relationship ended, Mr. Epstein remained intensely focused on his former friend, which included looking for ways to leverage Mr. Trump's political rise for his own purposes. Some newly released files add to the sense that Mr. Epstein was keeping close tabs on the president. In 2018, for example, Mr. Epstein's accountant emailed him a link to a Reuters article about congressional investigations into Mr. Trump and Deutsche Bank, which for years was the president's primary lender. At the time of the email, Deutsche Bank was also Mr. Epstein's main bank. The documents also include files that confirmed previous news articles about Mr. Epstein's relationship with the future president. For example, last August, the Times published an article showing the inside of Mr. Epstein's Manhattan mansion, including how he displayed photos with powerful men like Mr. Trump. Similar photos are included in the files released by the Justice Department. There are also scattered references to the compendium of letters that was presented to Mr. Epstein on his 50th birthday in 2003. In one newly released email from late 2002, an unidentified sender provides an update on the plans for the birthday book, apparently noting that submissions from Mr. Trump and others have not yet arrived. The birthday book, which was released by a congressional committee last summer, ultimately included a body entry apparently signed by Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump has denied writing it and has sued the Wall Street Journal for linking him to it. The files include emails from a woman named Melania. In 2002, a woman named Melania wrote a warm email to Ghislaine Maxwell, Mr. Epstein's longtime associate, who is now serving a 20-year prison sentence after being convicted of participating in his sex trafficking operation. It is not clear if the sender of the email is the future First Lady, Melania Knobs, who married Mr. Trump about 3 years later. The email was sent shortly after New York Magazine published a profile of Mr. Epstein that included a photo of him with Ms. Maxwell. The article included a now famous quote from Mr. Trump, in which he called Mr. Epstein a terrific guy, and said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Dear G, the October 2002 email begins. Nice story about Ja in NY Mag. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. Have a great time, the sender signs off. Love, Melania. The sender's email address is redacted. Ms. Maxwell does not appear to have replied for a few months. Sweat P, thanks for your message, she wrote in January 2003. Ms. Maxwell notes that she is on her way back to New York and will not have time to see Melania. I will try and call though, she writes. Keep well. There are also occasional cryptic references to Trump family members in the files released on Friday. A handwritten page from a mid-2000s notebook, for example, describes gifts, including apparently a bracelet for Ivana Trump, who was married to Mr. Trump until the early 1990s and who died in 2022. The notes appear to have been written by government investigators. There are a variety of other references to Trump. The files occasionally demonstrate the Trump administration's apparent sensitivity about the president's inclusion in the trove of documents. One file shows a series of text messages between Mr. Epstein and Stephen K. Bannon, Mr. Trump's former advisor, from 2019. One of them includes a photo of Mr. Trump delivering a speech. Mr. Trump's face has been covered with a black redaction box. Mr. Bannon declined to comment on the messages. In December, the Justice Department posted and then removed from its website a photo of Mr. Epstein's New York mansion, in which an image of Mr. Trump with a number of women was visible inside a drawer. The department later reposted the photo and said it had been temporarily taken down to protect Mr. Epstein's victims. Another email released on Friday indicates that Mr. Epstein was considering whether to contact Mr. Trump in 2011. In an email to a private investigator, Mr. Epstein indicates that he wants to speak to Mr. Trump about Virginia Giuffre. Ms. Giuffre, who died by suicide last year, was one of Mr. Epstein's most prominent victims. She said that she had been lured into Mr. Epstein's web when she worked at Mar-a-Lago. In the email, Mr. Epstein asks the private investigator whether there are any alternatives before contacting Mr. Trump. It is not clear if he tried to reach the future president. Mr. Trump said last summer that he ended his relationship with Mr. Epstein, at least in part because Mr. Epstein stole Ms. Giuffre from Mar-a-Lago. Mr. Trump noted that Ms. Giuffre never accused him of misconduct. Reporting was contributed by Dylan Friedman, Nicholas Confessor, Deborah Kamen, and Zach Seward.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our next reporting by The Hill, read by an unnative voice. Ladies and gentlemen, look a read as well as a listen.
Trump says latest release of Epstein files absolved him. By Julia Manchester. President Trump told reporters Saturday that the latest release of the documents related to the disgraced financier, Jeffrey Epstein, absolves him of any wrongdoing. I was told by some very important people that not only does it absolve me, it is the opposite of what people were hoping, article left. Trump told reporters in his first public comments since the latest release of the files. Trump said he will likely sue author Michael Wolff, claiming that he and Epstein were conspiring to politically hurt him. Wolff, who is a third-rate writer, was conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to hurt me. Politically or otherwise, and that came through loud and clear, he said. So we will probably sue Wolff on that. Trump has not been accused of any wrongdoing in regard to the Epstein case. While the two were once friends, Trump said he threw Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago resort because the financier took young women working in the spa there. The president is mentioned more than 3,000 times in files related to the case. Among the nearly 3 million additional documents related to the convicted sex offender the Department of Justice released on Friday are allegations about Trump and Epstein that the FBI received as tips through its National Threat Operations Center. Emails between DOJ staffers show that the tips were compiled as information from Trump accusers in August. Parts of the documents show that the FBI contacted many, but not all, of the initial callers, with some tipsters not leaving their information. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said Sunday that some tips were anonymous and relied on second-hand information, which he said is not something that can be really investigated.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we have a reporting by ProPublica that 2 agents who unlawfully shot Alex Pretty this last weekend have been identified. Let's get into it. The article, ladies and gentlemen, is titled 2 CBP agents identified in Alex Pretty shooting. The 2 federal immigration agents who fired on Minneapolis protester Alex Pretty are identified in government records as Border Patrol Agent Jesus Oka, that's OCHOA, ladies and gentlemen, and Customs and Border Patrol Officer Raimundo Gutierrez. Ladies and gentlemen, and the article reads, the 2 federal immigration agents who fired on Minneapolis protester Alex Pretty are identified in government records as Border Patrol Agent Jesus Oka. Again, that's OCHOA, ladies and gentlemen, and Border Patrol Protection Officer Raimundo Gutierrez. The records viewed by ProPublica list Oka.
Straight, move it forward.
And Gutierrez 35 as the shooters during the deadly encounter last weekend that left Pretty dead and ignited massive protests and calls for criminal investigations surrounding the agents involved comes as the country confronts the consequences of President Donald Trump's aggressive immigration crackdown. The sweeps in cities across the country have been marked by scenes of violence against immigrants and U.S. citizens by agents allowed to hide their identities with masks an almost unheard of practice in law enforcement. As a result, the public has been kept from one of the chief ways in, it has to hold officers involved in both criminal contempt. Both Democratic and Republican lawmakers have called for a transparent investigation into the killing of Pretty and, a 37-year-old intensive care unit nurse working at a Department of Veterans Affairs hospital. We must have a transparent and independent investigation into the Minnesota shooting and those responsible, no matter their title, must be held accountable. Republican Senator John Curtis of Utah wrote on X on Monday. The agency sent a notice to some of the members of Congress on Tuesday, acknowledging that two agents fired Glock pistols during the altercation that left Pretty dead. Ladies and gentlemen, that notice does not include the agents' names. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees Customs and Border Patrol protection, said the agents had been placed on leave after the January 24 shooting and after a week of protests and calls from lawmakers for a review. The Department of Justice said Friday that its civil rights division is investigating the shooting. A DOJ spokesperson did not answer questions, including whether DHS has shared materials such as body camera footage with its investigators. Oka is a Border Patrol agent who joined CBP in 2018. Gutierrez joined in 2014 and works for CPB Office of Field Operations. He is assigned to a special response team which conducts high-risk operations like those of police SWAT units. Records show both men are from South Texas. In the aftermath of the shooting, Gregory Bovino, who has orchestrated high-intensity immigration sweeps and arrests in a string of Democratic-led cities since early 2025, was removed from his role as Border Patrol Commander-at-Large and reassigned to his former post in El Centro, California. A spokesperson for DHS declined to answer questions about two agents and referred ProPublica to the FBI. The FBI declined to comment. ProPublica made several attempts to call Oka and Gutierrez, but neither answered. Oka, who goes by Jess, graduated from the University of Texas, Pan American with a degree in criminal justice, according to his ex-wife, Angelica Oka, a longtime resident of the Rio Grande Valley. Oka had for years dreamed of working for the Border Patrol and finally landed a job there, she said. By the time the couple split in 2021, he had become a gun enthusiast with about 25 rifles, pistols, and shotguns, Angelica Oka said. DHS disclosure to Congress was drawn from an internal review of the agent's body camera footage, which has not been released to the public. State investigators, meanwhile, have accused their counterparts of blocking them from investigating the shooting. We don't have any information on the shooters, a Minneapolis City spokesperson said. A spokesperson for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said Tuesday that his office also had not been given the names, and we don't have any new information on the investigation. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee, in a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi on Monday, accused the Justice Department of covering up evidence in both Pretty's and Good's killings. DOJ has also blocked prosecutors and agents from cooperating and prevented state officials from accessing evidence, the letter said. Maryland Representative, the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, Jamie Raskinson, told CNN on Sunday that immigration agents should not be masked. They should not be unanimous. They should be identifiable, and they have to have rules of engagement that don't allow them to terrorize and intimidate, harass, and assault U.S. citizens and other people, he said. The notice to Congress said that the shooting happened when Pretty resisted arrest after officers were unable to get him and a female protester out of the street. The Border Patrol officer attempted to move the woman and Pretty out of the roadway. The woman and Pretty did not move. The report reads, Customs Border Patrol protection personnel attempted to take Pretty into custody. Pretty resisted. Customs Border Patrol personnel efforts and a struggle ensued. According to the report, one agent then yelled, "He's got a gun," multiple times, and two others discharged their Glock pistols in videos widely shared online, Pretty can be seen holding up a phone, documenting the movements and of federal agents and officers, as well as roamed the streets of a popular food and arts district. According to news reports, Pretty was concerned about the increasingly violent siege of the city by federal agents. In the videos, a masked agent appears to knock a woman to the ground. Pretty comes to her aid, getting between them, at which point the officer deploys pepper spray at his face. Two agents then grab Pretty and pull him to the ground, while more federal personnel pile on. During the struggle, the agents unleashed a series of shots, approximately 10, as onlookers scream. Pretty was armed at the time of the encounter with a legally owned handgun, according to state and federal officials. Some analysis of bystander video appear to show a federal agent taking Pretty's gun from his hip before the first shots were fired. The agents' masks and the chaos of the altercation make it difficult to differentiate one from another. Those videos appear to contradict the claims by Bovino and other officials, including DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, that Pretty had come to attack agents. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Bovino said in a January 25th news conference, fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. In the initial aftermath, Stephen Miller, a top Trump aide and a leading force behind the immigration enforcement operations, called Pretty a would-be assassin, but Miller changed tact later in the week when he said in a statement that Customs Border Patrol officers may not have been following protocol related to confronting bystanders. Additionally, additional video has surfaced showing Pretty in another altercation with federal agents 11 days before he was killed. The video shows Pretty yelling at the agents, who get in an SUV and start to drive away. Pretty then kicks out the taillight of the vehicle, and the agents, who wear protective masks, jump out and tackle him to the ground. It is unclear if any of the same agents were involved in both incidents. Lauren Bonds, executive director of the National Police Accountability Project, said that many local and state police departments are much more transparent than Customs Border Patrol protection. And, when officers shoot people, more and more police departments are choosing to release body cam footage or dash cam footage within a couple of days. Gil Kerlikowski, that's Kerlikowske, a former Customs Border Patrol Protection Commissioner, told ProPublica that it's difficult to draw conclusions from the chaos in bystander videos. Still, he said, the shooting might have been prevented. Pretty's attempt to help the woman knocked to the ground could have been seen as interfering with federal enforcement, he said. Federal law enforcement, he said, which, ladies and gentlemen, no, it wasn't. There's no way that could be interfering in law enforcement activity. But the decision by the officers to immediately use pepper spray created a chaotic scene that likely contributed to Pretty's death. The other agent could have said, "Don't interfere or stand back." Kerlikowski, that's Kerlikowske, said, "Rather than move immediately to pepper spray, you can arrest the person. It's part of a pattern," he said, "of federal officers jumping straight to use force in a situation that could have, in situations that could have been de-escalated, but instead created danger for both agents and their targets, Pretty's death and the federal government's." Characterization of the event sparked immediate protests, spurring thousands of people to go out into frigid conditions in Minneapolis and other American cities. The shooting has also drawn intense criticism from political leaders, including Walz, who has promised his state's law enforcement will conduct its own criminal investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, one major takeaway is that no, Alex Pretty was not interfering whatsoever by just simply helping up a protester that was violently shoved by these thugs to the ground. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this first of 3 illegal breaking reportings for the afternoon hours of Sunday, February 1st, 2026. If you did enjoy this reporting, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy for more legal breaking news that you need to know about and more. And I will see you guys in about an hour and a half for our final reporting for the afternoon hours.